going into tomorrow. A lot of play setting up for tomorrow. At least I hope. Earnings was decent on really most names besides Microsoft, I would say. But we'll break all that down. Once again, tomorrow I will do a live trading session. So I will post that link up on YouTube, the Zoom link with the password on YouTube, roughly 10 minutes before market opens. So feel free to join. Other than that, let's get into it. So starting with the SPY, 2 days ago, we ended up taking a trade, breaking retest off our 71240. Beautiful trade here. We ended up catching this bottom here and rolled this all the way up into the previous day high, which was all-time highs at the time. So we know 71240 is a key level. All you got to do is zoom out here and let our trade come to us. So what do I like about this 71240 going into tomorrow? Well, it's a daily double top. You can see here it is a clear key level. Support, support, support. We broke it, turned it into, resistance. Resistance. We ended up breaking it. We turned it into support. We got that move higher yesterday, resistance, today, resistance. So clear key level here. You can see as long as we're in here, this is a no trade zone. We're ranging, which is very normal, right? When we make all-time highs or the market is just on a straight rally, we can see consolidation before our next leg higher. So I would love to see this channel turn into support here on the SPY. So that's what we'll look for tomorrow. Of course, if we fall under the previous day low, then we can just expect a pullback here back down to the bottom of the range here on SPY. So I love the confluence here because this is also the previous day high. This past weekend, we did a lesson on confluences and how to stack odds in your favor, find and identify higher probability setups. Remember, in trading, confluence equals higher probability. So what do I love about the 71240? Well, like I just said, it's a daily double top. If you get a break and retest over that, you're getting over the previous day high and over a higher time frame key level. That's a great confluence here. Clear shots towards all-time high. Unfortunately enough, we were able to catch this on this day and ride this thing all the way up. So let's see if we can just turn this channel back into support. Not really looking for shorts, until this market actually ends up breaking structure. You can see way down here, I would love this for a swing trade. I would love that for a swing trade. I have an alert set here. So that just shows you, how far and extended we are in the market, because we still need to pull back and retest some very major key levels here on the overall market. But that's pretty much the game plan going into tomorrow. Of course, right, if it's an inside bar day, hands off. For those who, scout and trade, off the PDLs and PD highs, that's perfectly fine. You can play this if you want. If the market wants to pull back, for me, I'm not really looking to short the market just based on we're still in the higher time frame. But you can see this as a rejection off your key level, making its way back down to the bottom of the range here, its other key level. So, if the market wants to stay heavy, you can definitely look for a break and retest under this PDL targeting 70280 here on SPY. Qs. Beautiful, beautiful trade here on Qs today. I will post that here on YouTube. A cool little lesson on how to hold your trades longer and how to milk your runner. So that's definitely going to be a cool video to check out based off a live trading session that we took today here on Qs, off the PDH actually. So Qs is a little different. Qs is really, actually I'll zoom out here. Qs is not sitting anywhere near a higher time frame key level. You can see Qs was consolidating. What do? We broke outside of this channel. We turned it into support, and then we got that move higher. So we actually ended up catching this on a swing trade on Qs when we turned this channel into support. So that was a pretty solid trade. But you can see as of right now, just sitting nowhere near any key level. So we're really just going based off the PDH and the PDL. So Qs was actually a pretty strong day today, right? We took a trade, a break and retest over the PDL here on Qs. And you can see the strength that it has compared to SPY. Look at it now in the after hours, making its way higher. And today we ended up closing higher than we did yesterday. So today was a pretty solid day here on Qs. If you look at the top left of my screen, you can see we actually closed green here on Qs. So, break and retest over the PDH, targeting all-time highs, right? Qs is at the top of the range. So for those traders who are patient and they know what they're looking for, there's really no setup here. Today was a better shot just because we were further away from all-time highs. Tomorrow, you're pretty much a couple of dollars away from all-time highs. And right, if we gap up, during pre-market, you're already at all-time highs. So as I always say, you can take a trade up here. That's not wrong if you're trading with the market looking to go long, but you're late to the party. So for those who are patient and know what they're looking for, this is really, the pullback longs that you're waiting for these bigger upside opportunities. But you can definitely look for a trade here off the PDH on Qs going into tomorrow. Other than that, based on where it's sitting, not really a trade that I like. So we're just basically using the Qs to navigate what we want to do on our other tech names. If we can get over the PDH and make new all-time highs tomorrow, we can definitely see some upside on a lot of these other names. If we get under this PDL, we can see it pull back here to 650. Yesterday lows here, which is unmitigated liquidity. But ideally, right, higher time frame key level, 650.20. If that happens and the bears are in control on the intraday, be a little cautious, going long on some names unless there is a relative strength compared to the overall market. So just keeping an eye out here tomorrow on Qs over this PDH and PDL here. Tesla. So Tesla's fairly easy. Why? Because we're just waiting. We're just letting our trade come to us. You can see Tesla is in a range here in a channel. So it's pretty much been, yeah, a solid trading week. It's been an entire trading week since Tesla has just been stuck in a range. You can see it's stuck in between 382.80 and 367.35. So whatever sets up tomorrow, I like that. If we get a break to either side, right, we're also under the previous day high, under the previous day low, which means price is likely to continue higher or lower. For me personally, as long as we're under 382.80, I'm more so bearish bias here on Qs. On Tesla. If you zoom out on the weekly, on the daily, we are still in a downtrend here on Tesla. So break and retest under 367.35. That's a solid setup. Longs over 382.80. That is a beautiful setup. And then of course, right, if that doesn't set up, you just don't take a trade. So been treating this as a no trade zone, avoiding deaths 5,000 cuts. Right, there's no trade here. This is a low probability environment. For those who do trade, the PDH and PDL, context matters. So you can see terrible today on Tesla, but that's expected because it's in a range, in a channel, and it was FOMC. But hey, you can definitely look for this. You can look for a break and retest over the previous day high, targeting 382, and under the previous day low, targeting 367. But just know you're taking a trade in a low probability environment. So if you're patient, you can see we're just ranging. I would just sit on my hands and wait for a break to either side there on Tesla. Nvidia. So Nvidia as well, starting to range a little bit. So very interesting here on Nvidia. This thing consolidated. A lot of these names consolidated. I'm sure you're starting to see the pattern here. I just showed you on, SPY consolidating, Tesla consolidating, and Nvidia consolidated for quite some time. You can see consolidated. You finally got that blow off top, but that's expected, right? A lot of built up liquidity. You finally get that blow off top. And then we ended up ripping through this key level as well that same day. I remember this was last Friday. We were watching this. So we still do need to retest this on the intraday. You can see being respected here, being respected in the after hours, but we still do need to retest these key levels here on the intraday. So fairly simple here tomorrow on NVIDIA. This is my no trade zone because you can see now we're just starting to range in here, consolidated, blow off top, and now another consolidation going on here. So clean market structure, just making our ways higher. We've already made all-time highs here on NVIDIA. So what am I looking for tomorrow on NVIDIA? Well, it's going to be a pullback long off of this. We still need to retest this on the intraday. We have not done so. You can see this was the breakout. We still need to retest that. Or a break and retest over 212.20. I love the confluence here because you're also getting over the previous day high. If that sets up, clear shots towards all-time high. If the market wants to stay heavy, if the market is heavy, and NVIDIA wants to get heavy as well, for those who want to, you can definitely trade the break and retest here under 206.80. You're also under the previous day low. For me personally, I would just be very patient. I would let this pull back and I would look for my long opportunity here at 203. That's the better trade. That's the bigger RR trade because then that can turn into a swing trade and you're already in down here before we get back up here. So to each your own. But these are really the main two that I'm watching tomorrow. 206.80 for a pullback long, 212.20 for a break and retest above. And then if we want to stay heavy, like I said, and fall under this, we still need to retest this. We broke out of here. You can see this is a key level. We broke that on Friday. We still need to retest that here. So break, retest, very simple there. So that's the game plan there tomorrow on NVIDIA. AMD, a beautiful day here on AMD. The game plan coming into today here on AMD was a break and retest over the previous day high. This is pretty much the strongest tech name, if not the strongest. Did not take this trade. Ended up taking 2 trades today, both winners on Palantir and on QQQ. And I was actually looking at AMD here. The only reason I didn't take this is just because the IB was sitting around 90. So definitely not touching that with the IB. But you can see we ended up having a nice little morning dip here. Buyer stepped up very aggressively. Look at that beautiful break and retest over the previous day high. You're only trading off the previous day high here on AMD just because it's so high. It's not sitting towards any key levels. So you could have taken this on the reclaim entry, or you could have been very patient and waited for this retest here, again, giving you plenty of opportunities. And then you can see we just ended up having a very nice trendy day here. Previous day high was 327.50, and we ended up making our way up to 340. So buyers are not letting up here on AMD, that's for sure. Buyers are not letting up here. So beautiful. So going into tomorrow, you can see it looks pretty strong here as well during the after hours. So you're just looking for a break and retest over the previous day high, targeting old highs, unmitigated liquidity. In this case, this is going to be 349.21. I'll probably just round that down to 20, but that's what you're looking for. Break and retest over the previous day high. If it's an inside bar day there, I am hands off on AMD. Amazon. So I highly doubt. I mean, we won't know until we know. You can see earnings was fairly well. Crazy how volatile it is. Earnings ended up going down to 245.02, and then we made our way up to 270. So what are you looking for here tomorrow on AMD? Just let your trade come to you. If it comes, it comes, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So 2 things I'm looking for here on AMD. Well, it's just going to be a break and retest over this previous day high, which is pretty much, is this all-time highs now? Yeah, I think so. So pretty much a pullback long or a break and retest for Amazon going into tomorrow, excuse me, or a pullback long off of 255.35. This is a key level here. We ended up breaking this, and we still do need to retest this. So you can see we're consolidating here a little bit. We turned this channel into support, right? Turned it into support. We were sitting in between 225 and 250. We broke out of this. You can see, ended up having a very nice break during the pre-market. We still need to retest that. So draw this out, probably a better visual here. Are you looking for? is, right, we already got the break. We still need the retest. Very bullish here. There's nothing saying short Amazon on the weekly, on the daily. The trend is your friend and the dip is your best friend. So going into tomorrow, obviously on these names that had earnings, we're going to be a little patient just because we want the IB to cool off. So looking for this, right, pullback long or break and retest over the previous day high, depending on where Amazon opens, or a pullback long off at 255.35 here on Amazon. Definitely going to be focused on that just because it's an after earnings play. Should be a lot of momentum and liquidity going into tomorrow on that Microsoft. So you can see Microsoft here, kind of just like Amazon, right? You can see it had this dip down here, and then look at it now for the earnings. So fairly simple here. Depending on where this opens, keep in mind all these things may change during pre-market because obviously we can move up, move down. I'm doing after hours in pre-market, but we were sitting in a range here, so made it fairly easy for me personally. I love when a name sits in a range or a channel. It just makes trading easier because now you literally just wait for your trade to come to you and wait for that range break. The only downside to that, because as I say, there's pros and cons to everything, is you get a blow off top sometime, which means you get the breakout, but you don't get a retest. So what am I looking for going into tomorrow here on Microsoft? Depending on where we open, I'm looking for a pullback long off of 423.95 or a break and retest over 439.45. That's going to be a gap and go continuation play. If that sets up, I know I didn't share the weekly outlook on YouTube coming into this week. I had a very busy weekend. So if that sets up, that is now a V-shaped recovery here. Actually, I'll just break this down now. That's a V-shaped recovery here on Microsoft. We are no longer fully bearish bias on this name. You can see if we get over 439.45, I mean, look at that. That's a V-shaped recovery. And now we have clear shots towards the highs on the year. I'll zoom out on the weekly, makes it a little easier. But you can see if we get above this, right, we got this gap fill we have to fill. So don't forget about that. You can see we haven't been doing anything in here. So that's why I saw no trade zone. We either take that or we take that, letting our trade come to us. Tomorrow, if we stay strong, gap and go continuation play over 439.45. That looks really, really good. But like I said, if we get over this key level here, I mean, look at that. That is a V-shaped recovery. That is solid. The bulls are back in control. So long-term portfolio looks pretty good. I ended up, buying shares on Microsoft down here. I bought a good amount. In my opinion, I just felt that this name was just very oversold for really no reason. And it was really mainly due to this. I was just looking at this from the weekly's point of view, and I'm like, okay, the year just started. Just keep in mind, this is maybe a month ago. I'm like, the year just started, and we're already back near last year's lows. Like, look at what we did last year, and then look at us now. So I'm like, no, I don't know what panic is going on, but I think this is a great opportunity. And I ended up just buying a crap ton of shares, and I was just risking right under last year's lows here, which is roughly 344.75. And now we've just had a crazy bounce. So super solid here on Microsoft. You can see on the weekly here. I mean, I know this week is not over. Tomorrow's Thursday though. So you can see so far the last 2 weeks, we really haven't done much. Obviously we haven't done much leading up to today because it was earnings. So we'll see. But that's why I like earnings, because sometimes earnings just, it gives you that boost to break outside of that range. So look at that, right? If that sets up, there's nothing in its way towards the highs here on the year. And we got this crazy gap fill. So that is definitely a V-shaped recovery here on Microsoft. This thing looks really, really good for some upside. Very oversold, in my opinion. I put my money where my mouth was. I bought some shares down here. So far, looks pretty good. So going into tomorrow, the 3 key levels we're going to be watching, like I said, is 439, 423, and 414. Pullback long off of 423. If we stay heavy, 414, break and retest under that to the downside because that's a range break, and we'll still be making that lower low on the higher time frame. And then this is really going to be the key line in the sand here for a gap and go continuation play if we stay strong. And like I showed you on the daily, we have a very big gap here to fill on Microsoft. So Microsoft looks good. It's been in the rotation. I don't really touch Apple like that for obvious reasons. So Microsoft looks good. AMD's been literally in no man's land near no key levels. So this has been a really good substitute name. Contracts move well, pays very well. So that's the game plan tomorrow on Microsoft. Palantir. So unexpectedly, it's funny, Palantir wasn't even on my radar today. And I set an alert towards the bottom of the range here. And this is right off the weekly outlook. And it went off. I said, what's going on with Palantir? And ended up taking a short today on Palantir. So fairly simple here on Palantir because we're just ranging. So less is more. Whenever a name's just stuck and it's ranging on the weekly, I really just mark out my weekly levels and then I let my trade come to me. So you can see here, I really only have weekly levels marked out here. I actually took a trade today on 136, which is a daily level, and I took a break and retest under that. Why? Because it was a range break. Ended up just being a nice little squeeze, but we were able to sell for a nice base hit into the lows here. So what am I looking for here on Palantir, at least on the higher time frame? Just a range break. Break and retest over 148, break and retest under 136. Anything in here? No trade zone, hands off. So that was very solid. Ended up taking that today. You can see here, it looked pretty promising, right? Very strong downside here, and ended up just taking the break retest here, and we were able to go into these lows, but it ended up just being a nice bear trap because we ended up closing back above it. And look at us now, holding this as support. So that's no coincidence, right? We're in a channel. We're stuck in between 148 and 136. There's no coincidence that we come down here to the bottom of this range and the buyers step up and defend this very well, right? Look at us. We fell under, we got back above, held as support. Look what we're doing right now during the after hours, holding this very well as support. So for those who do play ranges, I don't. As I always say, know your identity as a trader. For me, it's just, you're putting the probabilities in your favor when you just wait for a break and retest to either side. There's no right or wrong way to trade. But now you got a lot more to look for when you look for that, or you look for that, and you look for that, or you look for that. So I just get rid of those 4 outcomes and I say, okay, I'm only looking for a break and retest to the upside or a break and retest to the downside. Plan the range break. Fairly simple there. So tomorrow, this really just depends on Palantir. If we stay heavy, then I like it. Break and retest under 136.15. We can target this previous day low and look for continuation lower here. If we hold at the bottom of this range, I'm pretty much just hands off here. If you want to go long, right, for those who do trade the range, if you want to go long, right, take your shot, accept the risk, look for that pullback long, bottom of the range before we get back to the top of the range. That's all we've been doing here on Palantir. So we'll see what sets up going into tomorrow on that. Not going to go over Apple. Has earnings tomorrow, so no touch there. Google, highly doubt we're going to get a setup here on Google tomorrow, but who knows? Who knows? This thing's gone. It's a rocket. So the only thing, honestly, the only 2 things you'll probably be looking for here on Google tomorrow is a pullback long off the previous day high, which is now all-time high, or going to change this to previous all-time highs. Previous all-time highs. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, you're just looking for those 2 things. We're so extended. For those who look for gap and go continuation plays, you can see what sets up pre-market and mark out your pre-market levels and look for a trade off of that. But we're opening way up here, so I would just look for this or a pullback long off of 350.15 here. You can see definitely some sellers sitting up here defending this very well. You want to see us turn that into support. Like I said, you can see the pattern here. A lot of these names were consolidating. You got these breakout outside of these channels, but you never got the retest. You got that big breakout, so you still need that. You can see the big breakout here. So I would love for Google to turn these old highs into, these old lows, turn that into support and see if we can get some continuation higher here. So we'll see what sets up. Google's based on where it's sitting right now, this thing is way out of reach. You can definitely look for, I know some people mark out the earnings high. So you can, mark out the earnings high and look for a break and retest above that for a continuation play, to each their own. But that's pretty much the game plan tomorrow on that. So hope this helps, guys. Be safe tomorrow. It's after FOMC. It's after earnings. A lot of people are going to be, looking to jump the gun. Be patient. Let that IV cool off. You don't want to get crushed by that. And just trade off your levels, accept the risk. So hope this helps, guys. I will see you on the next one.